And ahead in this broadcast, NPP caucus in Parliament files petition for urgent recall of the House 24 hours after the Speaker adjourned the House indefinitely. We have details of that for you, plus to shortly tell you why some 3 NDC MPs have filed a private member's bill to repeal LI 2462 that allows for mining in forest reserves.
In case government decides not to move with what it plans to do, we can, in the alternative, ensure that this LI is repealed.
Also in this broadcast, stakeholders in the educational sector urge a Ghana Education Service to address concerns of parents and students.
I would want to tell the Ghana Education Service to take time in terms of planning all of this. I mean, everything seems to be in a rush, and that is certainly not in the interest of parents. Parents would have to prepare to get their children to school.
More in politics this evening, because the governing New Patriotic Party accuses largest opposition NDC of planning and conspiring to rig 2024 elections through disruptions of Parliament proceedings.
I've been working with since January 7th or 8th, 2021. The document consists of 11 chapters, each directing the NDC on various disruptive, unfair, and outright crude tactics to aid its capturing of power in 2024.
And later on the campaign trail tonight, we sit with the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. We have the details of these and many other stories making this 1 hour 30 minutes broadcast. Do stay.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. This broadcast is streaming live on our Facebook platform at Starr 103.5 FM. We start off with the quarters of the New Patriotic Party because the NPP caucus in Parliament has filed a petition for the urgent recall of Parliament some 24 hours after the Speaker adjourned the House indefinitely. The recall notice, which has already been filed with the Speaker's office, is attached with more than 10 pages of signatories of NPP MPs who have supported the petition. It would be recalled that just before the House was adjourned, MPs on both sides of the House engaged in a battle for the majority title in Parliament and jostled each other to sit on the right-hand side of Speaker Bagman. A decision by the Supreme Court for the Speaker to stay his decision regarding the vacancy of some 4 seats in Parliament heightened tensions in the legislature. But before we bring you details of that recall notice filed by the NPP MPs, my senior colleague, Jojo Kobna, has compiled this rather detailed feature capturing all the interesting sights and sounds of happenings on the floor of the House yesterday and in the 8th Parliament thus far. We'll bring you that report shortly. But earlier, political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante, called on the NPP caucus in Parliament to rescind their decision to recall Parliament as he argued that the move could backfire. He spoke to Nade Tete on Morning Star.
I was surprised that with this knowledge, we are now seeing or hearing certain decisions by the majority. For instance, saying that we are going to trigger a process to get the speaker back. All right. That, for me, takes away that beautiful aspect of the conversation of what consensus building. Because once you do that, you bring the speaker back. All right. Is it the case that you have done your homework to also have at least a conversation with your colleague or the opposite? Has that been done, or just you want to trigger that process to force, if you like, force the speaker to come and say it? But remember, the speaker can be brought in through that process. And then at the end of the day, if the speaker tells you that I want to, now legal processes are being set, so I want to stay. So the Supreme Court takes hand down a ruling on the matter. Then what? Are we back to square one or not? So I believe that this is the time of dialogue, but this is not a time of
muscle flexing.
I know disagreements are the oils that grease the wheels of governance, without which they grind to a halt. But I believe that this is not the time to apply that type of oil in the business that we are handling.
Let's still stay within the quarters of the NPP because the flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, is questioning why the opposition NDC is rushing to be the majority for only 6 weeks. Now, according to him, the opposition party is only interested in becoming majority for 6 weeks because they know they have lost the elections. He was speaking at a Youth Connect program in Ho as part of his campaign tour of the Volta region.
They are panicking. The NDC knows that they are losing this election. They know that we are winning this election. So they are panicking. Just think about it. We have 6 weeks to an election. And their only concern is that they want to be a majority for 6 weeks. When you have been a minority for 8 years. Why? What is the rush? Because they know they have lost the election and they want to taste a majority position for 6 weeks. But for us, we know that we are going to stay focused. We will not be distracted. We are the majority party and we will be the majority party on December the 7th. Choboy! Choboy!
You just heard Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, there, touting the fact that the NDC is only interested in becoming the majority in Parliament for 6 weeks because the party believes it has already lost the 2024 election. But let's go and talk about the NDC because we understand that some 3 NDC MPs have filed a private member's bill to repeal LI 2462 that allows for mining in forest reserves. Now, the 3 MPs including Madina MP Francis Xavier Sosu, North Tongue MP Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, and Tamale North MP Alhassan Suhini want a repeal of Section 3, Clause 2 of the Environmental Protection, that is the Mining in Forest Reserves Regulations 2022, LI 2462, which grants the President the authority to issue mining leases for exploration in forest reserves. Now, one of the MPs, Francis Xavier Sosu, joins us for a conversation shortly, but before that, let's listen to him.
Well, I mean, in the first place, we know that we still maintain majority in Parliament, and from the word go, the action of the now minority in Parliament suggests that they may not want to really be very cooperative, and so a lot of the things that you may see happen moving forward must be efforts that must be by the majority side, and that is the reason why the 3 of us thought through that. The indication that the government want to introduce an LI to bring an amendment to the LI or repeal the LI that allows for mining in forest regions. We don't believe that government is really committed to that, and that is the reason why we have put this bill together and introduced it, so that just in case government decides not to move with what it plans to do, we can, in the alternative, ensure that this LI is repealed, because we know that this LI has largely contributed to people mining in forest regions that actually have destroyed our forests and some of our water bodies as well.
You just heard that the Member of Parliament for the Medina constituency, Francis Xavier Sosu, but we are fortunate. He's actually joined us on phone now. Let's have a conversation quickly with him. Honorable, thank you very much for your time this evening. I want to understand, first of all, why is there the need to introduce this private member's bill, which is aimed at repealing the LI that allows for mining in forest reserves?
If I heard you, are you asking why?
What I want to understand is why is there the need for you to introduce a private member's bill for the repeal of this LI?
Well, it's because that the government is dealing with the situation. And now that, like that,
Honorable, can you kindly position yourself properly? I'm really struggling to hear you.
please hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Well, I was saying that it doesn't seem like it really has dealing with the Galante issue, particularly with the mining in forest reserves. And that is why it has become very necessary that we introduce this private member's bill. In fact, I know that government had made some assurances to organized labor that they were taking some steps to make that happen. But now that they have become minority in parliament, I don't know whether they will still be willing to commitment. And that's important that we, the majority side in parliament, we will push this bill.
But I mean, what confidence do you have that in a space of about 6 weeks, this private member's bill will be able to achieve its purpose of wanting to have this LI repealed?
Well, I mean, I'm confident that it can happen. Once we have it introduced right now, as I'm speaking to you now, it's on its way to the Justice Department for them to examine it, and then we're going to do impact analysis and on indefinite suspension, processes that go with those that are brought to the House. We are hoping that it will go through all those. The time we are recalled back to Parliament, each way we can actually do the first reading, have it referred, consider it at a committee level, and get back to remember that this Parliament is going to run until the 6th of January 2025. And so we hope that in between time we'll be able to get.
Now, I believe you have seen information making rounds that the NPP MPs have started gathering signatories in a bid to have Parliament recalled. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that it's not really the fact that the current circumstances in Parliament doesn't, support us being in the chamber now. And I'm sure that is why, in the wisdom of the Speaker, he agendaed the House indefinitely. I would have thought that they would be interested in resolving the issues that necessitated the indefinite suspension. It looks like they currently is unnecessary because so when you gather the signatures and then you say 112 of the Constitution, it requires that once such a recall is made or request is made.
Francis, kindly once again position yourself properly because your line is quite jittery.
I'm so sorry, but is it a little better?
It's manageable, I guess.
Well, so the signature they are collecting or their attempt to recall Parliament exercise in futility. That it is so fundamental that we deal with the issues that led to us indefinitely. If you don't clear up those matters, calling us back to Parliament won't change anything because as far as we are concerned, any day, anytime in the chamber, we will occupy the majority seat, except they are willing to eat their humble pie and not take over the minority seat in Parliament.
Okay, but you're also a legal practitioner. Help me understand this. What does the law say about Article 112, Clause 3, which the NPP MPs are threatening to trigger? What is the position of the law on that?
Well, the position of the law is that members of a request for a recall of Parliament. And when I receive such a request, Speaker will, within 10 days, recall Parliament. And then once we have the notice of recall, we can then go and we can then go and deal with whatever issues they may have raised. Because in recall, parliament, you would have just the reasons why you feel in recall parliament, but in fact the decision to recall speaker there is mandatory. Assuming you say speaker should recall parliament, speaker doesn't recall parliament, what will you do to speaker? Because speaker of the judicial of the legislature be sure there's a process that necessitates a very peaceful event before he recalls parliament.
Thank you very much. We'll have a conversation subsequently. I would have loved for us to have an extensive conversation, but the phone lines are not too favorable this evening. I've been engaging Francis Xavier Sosu on what's happening in Parliament. The first one being the 3 NDC MPs proposing a private member's bill to have LI 2462 repealed, and also the recall of Parliament, which has been proposed by some NPP MPs who have started gathering some signatories. But we have more stories for you after this break. This is still Starr Today. Stick and stay.
Honestly, the cost of dialysis is an impossible burden to carry. Ever since this kidney failure diagnosis, we spend over 1,200 cedis every week. I keep asking if there's no intervention for persons suffering from chronic illnesses in society. Considering all these economic hardships, isn't the government thinking of us? Aren't they? Is the NPP government saying they can't do anything about this? Grandpa, I can't lose you, Grandpa.
A nation that doesn't care for its sick is herself sick. Ama's painful story is one of what many Ghanaians are going through today. But there is hope for Ghanaians under the next NDC government. John Mahama will create the Mahama Cares Fund to support the cost of treatment of people suffering chronic illnesses such as kidney failure, cancer, diabetes, sickle cell, hypertension, and other heart diseases. Ghanaians can access free health care at CHIPS compounds, health centers, clinics, and polyclinics, whether or not they have NHIS cards. These interventions will be major sources of relief for the millions of Ghanaians who are suffering from these chronic diseases and are often left to their own fates. Indeed, Mahama cares. Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Accra gets ready for the ultimate sporting event of the year. Starr 103.5 FM, your #1 radio station, presents the Starr FM 10 Diplomatic Games.
On Saturday, 26th of October, the world's top diplomats gather for a friendly competition like no other in Accra, Ghana, under the theme Breast Cancer Awareness. Feel it, find it, fight it, and remember, there will be free breast cancer screening.
The venue is the American International School Sports Complex, East Legon, Accra. Time 8 a.m. prompt. The dress code is sporty pink. Activities of the day include
soccer, volleyball, tennis, obstacle race, indoor games, and more.
Who takes home the gold? Look out for our colorful and exciting children's corner. Join us live at the Diplomatic Games with commentary from your favorite Starr FM hosts. Don't miss the action at the Starr FM 10 Diplomatic Games on Saturday, October 26, 2024 at the AIS Sports Complex, East Legon. Remember, attendance is absolutely free, but registration is compulsory.
Visit www.starfm.com.gh to register for free. This event is in partnership with American International School and supported by Sahara Rise Hospitality, Accra Medical Center.
I'm saying that Ghana must not introduce free SHS on the whimsical promise of a desperate politician. Many mistakes have been made by countries in Africa already with free SHS.
Akufado, minya wedienye, wuye bwe, bawumia, minya wedienye, wuye bwe.
Hey, Mommy Jane-Fua, why are you so excited this hot afternoon?
My sister, when I remember what free SHS has done for me and my children, I can't help but be happy for what Nanado and Dr. Bawumia have done. You remember when I lost my husband who was the breadwinner?
Yes, I remember very well.
There was no hope for my 3 children to go to school until Nanado and Dr. Bawumia introduced free SHS. Now my children, Kofi, Esi, and Kojo, attend all these big schools. In fact, do you know they are saying they want to review it? That's one. Some of their people are saying that they should cancel. Others too are saying they should make some people pay the fees.
Hey, they want to do their thing again. Who is going to pay and who will be going for free? They want to push we the poor people aside and start using their connection men and protocol to access the free SHS life-changing policy.
That is why we have to do everything in our civil rights to make sure they don't come and spoil this good thing for us.
This free SHS policy that Mahama and his people said is not possible. But now see,
It is possible. This year, we are voting to protect the free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from that break. This is still Starr today here on Starr FM. Let's do more politics now, because the governing New Patriotic Party has accused the largest opposition party, NDC, of attempting to rig the 2024 general elections using what they describe as crude, undemocratic and unpatriotic strategy. The party says it has uncovered a secret document from the NDC, reportedly drafted in 2021 as part of a strategic plan to frustrate government efforts to stabilize the country. The document allegedly outlined plans to disrupt legislative procedures and block the passage of revenue bills in Parliament. Now, speaking at a press conference earlier today, the NPP's Director of Communications, Richard Ehagba, said the secret document is a deliberate plot to hoodwink Ghanaians.
To the rule of law. The NPP's desire for protecting the peace and stability of our dear country remains unmatched. As our majority leader, Apenyo Markin, put it, we want to conduct ourselves in a manner that will not put our children and young people of this country to shame. The NDC, on the other hand, prefers to dispense with civility and go back to factory settings, namely to be crude, crass, chaotic, and confused, rude and violent. That is what the NDC means when they say they want a so-called reset. Moving on to the NDC's document to win the election 2024, which I've just shown you, our verifications show that it is a legitimate operational document of the National Democratic Congress. In other words, it's not a fake document. It's a true document, a document the NDC has been working with since January 7th or 8th, 2021. The document consists of 11 chapters, each directing the NDC on various disruptive, unfair, and outright crude tactics to aid its capturing of power in 2024. I strongly urge Ghanaians to read this secret document, which will introduce you to the dark corners of the NDC's corporate mind. It is a must read for voters, especially the youth and the middle class, because the document and its prescriptions make nonsense of patriotism, responsibility, democracy, and political ethics. The secret document goes beyond the ordinary strategy or action plan you would expect a political party to operate with. This secret document is a deliberate ploy by the NDC to hoodwink Ghanaians. In other words, to dupe Ghanaians of their votes. From what we have read in the document, the NDC had a plan right from January 8, 2021 to frustrate the government and make it unpopular through foul means to win power December 7, 2024. One would think that any political opposition party would do same. Indeed, that is not problematic if those plans are legitimate and in the nation's best interest. However, this document we have uncovered from the NDC promotes crude, undemocratic, and unpatriotic means of achieving political power.
You just heard that the NPP's Director of Communications, Richard Ehiagba, saying that their party have cited a document that suggests that the NDC, I beg your pardon, plans to rig the 2024 elections. But let's get some responses on the back of this and engage Mustafa Gbandi. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC in charge of operations. Mustafa, thank you very much for your time this evening. So that is what Richard Ehiagba has had to say. According to him, he has cited a document that indicates that right from 2021, your party had planned to rig the 2024 elections and also frustrate government business. What is your immediate response to that?
Well, thank you very much and good evening to our cherished listeners. It's taking me by surprise because as far as I'm concerned, the NDC's approach to 2024 is a straight-edge responsibility, vigilance, and ensure that there's a transparent election. We do not and have not put any strategy on a document. I can tell you on authority as a Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations who works directly with the General Secretary of the party, the National Chairman of the party, and the flag bearer to say that any document that is flying to whichever quarter projected to be an iota of a strategy of the NPP and the NDC is a calculated, written document by the MPPs to sing back what they intend to do.
Mustafa, hold on. You believe that document was actually written by the NPP?
Yeah, I'm just saying that if documents flying in space are anything to go by, President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia should be in jail by this time. Because per documents we have seen, right from 2012, 2014, 2016, burning of market, throwing of bombs, Hobson Adoye have confirmed to have partaken in it, killing of people, and all of that, the 2016, 2020, the force use, killing of individuals, innocent people, all that was on a document. Even the biggest crime is the Ajapadia document they have tried to throw away. But I can assure the MPP that whereas the NDC does not have an intention to rig an election, evidenced by the consistency we have demonstrated as far as fighting for transparent, free and fair election are concerned, it doesn't take away the fact that the NDC has all the potentials to multiply any negative effect that they will manifest in the election. If they try to rig, we will rig the election. If they bring and give the opportunity for us all to undermine and destroy the democracy we have built, NDC will fully contribute to that.
Really?
If they want us to go through a very transparent election, we will do that. And so if they check, from 2020, the NDC have consistently advocated for a peaceful, transparent, and a credible election. That let's ensure that the 2024 election is one man, one vote, so that Ghanaians can well inform, choose the president they so desire to represent them. Look, if the MPP dare to repeat 2% of what they did in 2020, we will triple what they did to them. If they dare to rig an election, a situation where we sit in this country, and Jane Mensa announces 7 times results, we will not have a president selected fraudulently to represent the country. No president of Ghana beyond this election will be a product of a rigged, compromised, and a fraudulent election. We will not have Sakawa people choosing a president for Ghana. And I can say on authority that Nana Addo's 2020 election, his presidency is a source of fraud, a source of compromised election, a source of fraudulent selection, and that the NDC is well awake, well informed, as well as Ghanaians. Look, the 2024 election is very simple. Every Ghanaian is more interested in the election than politicians ourselves. They have seen the pain. They have seen the difficulties. They have experienced it. They have seen the fraud of President Akufo-Addo's government. They have seen the deliberate and calculated deceit and dishonesty demonstrated by this government. They have experienced the opulence, arrogance, criminal conduct of people within government as far as Nana Addo's presidency is concerned. So no one is going to tell Ghanaians what to do. Ghanaians are going to police the polling stations in 2024. And
okay, but Mustafa, have you seen those documents? Have you seen this document the NPP is talking about?
Look, the NDC, the MPP, the current MPP are a bunch of evil people, a bunch of liars, a bunch of dishonest people who, when they are accusing you, watch them carefully. They are calculating to do what they are accusing you of. And so that document just manifests and represents what the MPP's plan is. But I can assure my brother Richard Anyagba, up to his presidency, that the NDC is ready for this election, that the NDC is prepared for this election. Look, it is one man, one vote. A situation where one vote multiplies into two, there will not be an easy take-home of that resource.
Okay.
A situation where a particular resource is announced which does not reflect what has actually transpired at a polling station, they will have themselves to blame.
Okay, Mustafa, thank you very much. Thank you. Because of time, we cannot continue with the conversation, but thank you very much. I've been engaged in Mustafa Gbande. He's a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC in charge of operations. Now, let's move away from politics and talk about education now, because the former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Yao Ahetochega, has cautioned management of the GES to address concerns raised by parents and guardians who they say have not had enough time to adequately prepare for reopening of school. This follows the GES's directives for first-year students to report on October 30, 2024, after the West African Examination Council released provisional results of the BEC exams. Now, speaking to my colleague Lansan Papanko on our sister station GH1 TV, the former Director General of GES says that the reopening date announced was done in a rush.
The most minimal of it is just to ensure that all the academic circumstances that the children will have to endure over the period are in place. The classrooms are set, everything is set. As it is of this time, one of the very critical things that we always make sure is ready is that the students will come into the school with meals available. Now, then we'll begin to look at the other things in terms of timetabling, ensuring that teachers are ready to meet the students and making them comfortable and ensuring that things are working. Currently, we don't seem to get that kind of situation within the education system. I don't know how much preparation is being made now, whether the schools are ready to have adequate feeding for the children who are coming in, whether the teachers who have been teaching almost a whole year round are ready to teach, and even with the parents, whether they are prepared enough to send their children to school the way they would want to have their children to be in school. So it's a bit of a disruption in so many different areas. But let us also remember that in the midst of all of these, here we are getting the second years out of the school, so that, especially for those schools that are on the double track thing, to get the second years out of school so that the juniors can come in and be able to stay in school. Their academic year has been severely disrupted now. So there are a series of complaints all around the place, and I think that it is not very much in the interest of parents to see all of these things happening and getting their young ones ready to go.
So moving forward, I mean, what steps will you advise the parents to take in trying to address, and what will be your call to the Ghana Education Service as well in making sure that everybody's comfortable with taking the awards to school?
Let me start from the bottom. I want to tell the Ghana Education Service to take time in terms of planning all of this. I mean, everything seems to be in a rush, and that is certainly not in the interest of parents.
You just heard the former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Ahetochega. Let's have a conversation now with the Deputy PRO of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association of Ghana, in the person of Irene Sam. Irene, thank you very much for joining us on the bulletin this evening. What exactly, really, are your concerns with the reopening dates for the first-year students?
Thank you to your cherished viewers and listeners. So, on the part of the Council, on the part of parents. We are just devastated. We are confused. We don't know what exactly is going on. Everything just seems to be disarray, and we are totally confused. Now we're here, and then promptly we just got a revised calendar promoting our children who are in Form 1 to Form 2. When they have not even written their end of semester examination, then those in Form 2 going to Form 3, they were given just 2 weeks to write examination before they vacate. And all these things, we feel that it's not going to help our work in any way. Coupled with that, then they brought the European date for the new first years who are going to resume to school. And then the testing that they are giving to us, we don't really know what it entails. Either they are going to take their prospectus or what, or they are officially open on that third year. All these things are questions, are concerns that parents are asking. And as a council, we stand in the gap to seek answers to this regard.
Irene, talking about you being a council, so what are you proposing now? Because as it stands now, the placements have not even been released just yet.
Yes. So we are proposing that GS take their time and then let us know if the 30th is the day that we go and take the prospectus or whatever, fine. Then they give us a new date for reopening. The parents can adequately prepare. Because the 30th, what are they going to do? Are they reporting to school? What are they going to report with? We don't have anything to report with. So we are pleading VSM to come out clear and to tell us that the 30th is for us to go for our prospectus. And then a new date will give to us, ample date given to parents to prepare adequately before their awards resume to school.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been engaging Irene Sam. She's a deputy PRO for the Parents and Teachers Association. Now, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu has instructed all circuit court judges and magistrates across the country to take notice of the decriminalization of attempted suicide cases. Parliament last year amended Act 2023, Act 1092. Now, the new law abolishes punishment for persons who attempt suicide. This marked a pivotal change in the handling of mental health issues in the country because mental health advocates have long campaigned for this change to treat attempted suicide as a public health issue rather than a crime. Here are details of the statement issued by Judicial Secretary Justice Pamela C.A. Cranting.
I have been directed by the Honorable Lady Chief Justice to notify all circuit court judges and magistrates that attempted suicide has been decriminalized by the Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2023, Act 1092. She's further directed me to inform you that with the amendment of Section 57 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 and Section 95 of the Mental Health Act 2012, persons who attempt suicide are no longer liable for prosecution and or conviction. Circuit court judges and magistrates are to take note for compliance.
Now, EIB gets resolved because there's a ray of hope for Adepa, a 1-year-old baby born with phocomelia, a congenital condition resulting in the absence of 3 limbs. Adepa has begun a sponsored physiotherapy process at the Orthopedic Training Center in Nsawam after several months of waiting. The training center offered the baby sponsorship after a GH1 and Starr News reports on her condition and the stigma faced by the family. There are more details in this report.
On September 5, 2024, AIB Network's Eastern Regional Correspondent, Kojo Ansa, reported that Adepa's parents, both teachers living in Kwao and Prayaso, were forced to relocate to Koforidua due to stigma and pressure to end their baby's life.
Some people suggested we take the life of the child, but since we did not create her, we have no reason to take her life.
I believe it is God that gives children. As human beings, we do not have that ability. If she was not killed in my womb, then there is no way I can kill her. Adepa, the 5th child of her parents, was delivered through cesarean section at Atibie Government Hospital. However, some doctors allegedly advised the couple to consider euthanasia to avoid the stigma and economic burden of raising a child with such a condition. The couple refused to end the life of their baby, born without arms or legs. After the GH1 and Starr News report, the Orthopedic Training Center at Nsawam offered Adepa sponsorship for physiotherapy services and provision of prosthetics and assistive devices to aid her mobility, ensuring timely access to education and independence. Reverend Elizabeth Newman, director of the Orthopedic Training Center in Insawam, is hopeful little Adepa will become independent.
Well, our first step will be to make her a prosthetic, a leg prosthetic, and teach her how to use it. As far as her hands are concerned, I think we can have her, with some intervention, learn how to feed herself with a spoon that would be attached to like a bracelet. Later on, when she grows, if she wants an artificial arm, that's possible.
Reverend Elizabeth Newman expressed concern that Ghana has made minimal progress in addressing stigma and other challenges facing persons with disabilities.
50 years later, I'm kind of sad that we have not made more progress in this field. So whatever the press can do to call the attention of the public and the government to persons living with some type of different ability, then we have to help. We have to do something, because these children are just like everyone else, and they need a chance in life, and they have a right. They have a right to everything that we have a right to. And so I thank you for following up on this.
She drew the government's attention to increasing cases of cerebral palsy and called for pragmatic measures to support those affected.
Certainly, EIB gets resolved, but we are back with a campaign trail on this bulletin right after this break.
Charlie, this year's elections, I am really confused. I don't know who to vote for.
Why don't you know who to vote for? Let's listen to one policy JDM says he's going to implement when he's voted.
I think so NDC ban. They be bien juman kitten. My person a branch executive na di omo be jim. Say akoko na person share poultry farm ketu bi near ma akoko bono near ton koko na ma near ma eduane a wo de beto eduane ama sika wo de beto eduane ama.
But why are you laughing? My guy, relax. So this is the reason he wants us to vote for him? Oh, the man hasn't changed one bit. Same old dead goat. Now let's listen to one of the many policies Dr. Bawumia has for the youth.
Jobs would be my major focus. Now, me be training 1 million youth in digital skills.
And see, that's not all. Apart from that, he's going to set up SME Bank to enable SMEs expand, to create jobs for the youth, and also increase demand with the buy now, pay small policy, which is the credit scoring system.
Oh, really?
That's not all, oh. Let me give you the last one. He says he's going to introduce Buy Ghana First policy to boost local businesses to help them expand and employ more youth.
Wow. Now, I know who I'm voting for come December 7th. Dr. Bawumia, you have my vote.
Yes, so these are but a few of DMB's bold solutions for the youth when he's voted into power come December 7th. I've changed my mind. I'm not voting for JDM anymore. I'll vote for the bold solutions man, Dr. Bawumia. Great decision, my brother. This year, Dr. Bawumia's vote, vote Dr. Bawumia, #1 on the ballot.
Accra gets ready for the ultimate sporting event of the year. Starr 103.5 FM, your #1 radio station, presents the Starr FM 10 Diplomatic Games.
On Saturday, 26th of October, the world's top diplomats gather for a friendly competition like no other in Accra, Ghana, under the theme Breast Cancer Awareness. Feel it, find it, fight it, and remember, there will be free breast cancer screening.
The venue is the American International School Sports Complex, East Legon, Accra. Time, 8 a.m. prompt. The dress code is sporty pink. Activities of the day include
soccer, volleyball, tennis, obstacle race, indoor games, and more.
Who takes home the gold? Look out for our colorful and exciting children's corner. Join us live at the Diplomatic Games with commentary from your favorite Starr FM hosts. Don't miss the action at the Starr FM 10 Diplomatic Games on Saturday, October 26, 2024 at the AIS Sports Complex, East Legon. Remember, attendance is absolutely free, but registration is compulsory.
Visit www.starfm.com.gh to register for free. This event is in partnership with American International School and supported by Sahara Rise Hospitality, Accra Medical Center.
Honestly, the cost of dialysis is an impossible burden to carry. Ever since this kidney failure diagnosis, we spend over 1,200 cedis every week. I keep asking if there's no intervention for persons suffering from chronic illnesses in society. Considering all these economic hardships, isn't the government thinking of us? Aren't they? Is the NPP government saying they can't do anything about this? Grandpa, I can't lose you, Grandpa.
A nation that doesn't care for its sick is herself sick. Ama's painful story is one of what many Ghanaians are going through today. But there is hope for Ghanaians under the next NDC government. John Mahama will create the Mahama Cares Fund to support the cost of treatment of people suffering chronic illnesses such as kidney failure, cancer, diabetes, sickle cell, hypertension, and other heart diseases. Ghanaians can access free healthcare at CHIPS compounds, health centers, clinics, and polyclinics, whether or not they have NHIS cards. These interventions will be major sources of relief for the millions of Ghanaians who are suffering from these chronic diseases and are often left to their own fates. Indeed, Mahama cares. Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from the break. This is still Starr today here on Starr FM, and I am Tutuwaa Danso. So up next on the broadcast is the campaign trail. This is simply the best Starr 103.5 FM, and EIB certainly remains your 2024 election hub. It is now time to take you officially on the campaign trail. It is some 12 minutes to the hour 6 p.m. and 45 days to election 2024. My guest this evening on the campaign trail is one of Ghana's few MPs who have successfully served two constituencies. He first served as the MP for Nanton in 2012 to 2016 and returned to Parliament in 2020. But this time, contesting the Tamale Central seats. His political career includes roles as Deputy Minister for Information and Media Relations and Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. This young MP is known for his focus on development, youth empowerment, and governance, and continues to contribute to Ghana's political landscape. But beyond his developmental work in his constituency, his assertiveness has made some believe he's part of the MPs in this 8th Parliament who engage in acts that disrupt parliamentary proceedings. If you are listening to us in Tamale, specifically the Tamale Central constituency, your member of parliament, who likes to be referred to as comrade instead of honorable, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, is seated in the studios. And the big question is, can he better the over 40,000 votes he secured in 2020? Remember that on Facebook, we are live on Starr 103.5 FM. Please send us your WhatsApp messages on the number 055-288-0216. Again, it is 055-288-0216. And this is your campaign trail. You're welcome once again to the campaign trail, and my guest is seated in the person of Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, aka Comrade. You're welcome to the studios.
Thank you. And when we say AK Comrade, I'm wondering why that caveat. It should be Comrade.
It should be Comrade, not
So
aka Comrade.
The AK is coming from, and I didn't know I was one of the disruptive members of Parliament.
No, but that is what we've heard. That you're one of the people we refer to as stubborn academy in Parliament. Is that true?
There's a saying that rumors are said by enemies.
Oh, how?
Spread by innocents and believed by fools. So I don't want you to believe a rumor without verifying.
That's why you are here.
So I'm saying that when people make such statements, we each have a responsibility and a duty to defend the democracy of the Republic of Ghana. As a matter of fact, the 1992 Constitution enjoins us to use any means necessary, even violence, to defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
Okay.
Whatever we have done in Parliament, from the elections of the Speaker and to the rulings of the Speaker just some few days ago, border entirely on the need to defend our democracy. So if defending the democracy is considered disruptive, then let it be so.
So be it.
One thing I can tell you, I am a patriot, I'm a Democrat, and I believe in democratic principles. And therefore, we must do everything possible to defend this democracy.
Okay.
And as we are enjoined by the 1992 Constitution, that even violence means you can use to defend the democratic dispensation and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
You touched on the ruling of the Speaker recently, so let's just go straight into that. We were very surprised. I don't know if my producer was, but I was surprised because it looks as though there was going to be a showdown in Parliament on Tuesday. But unfortunately, that swerved, where the Speaker just gave a ruling that Parliament had been suspended indefinitely. There was no certainty as to where Parliament was going to be recalled based due to the word indefinitely. But we are seeing that some signatories have been gathered by some NPP MPs to recall Parliament. And in fact, I think it's about 83 of those out of their 138 MPs, with about 55 remaining. What's your take on that?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important for us to understand that we are all practicing a democracy.
Okay.
We have had a history in this country where we have had military takeovers and truncation of our democratic processes before. We have tried the two main systems of democratic governance, the executive system of government and the legislative system. And I guess that the 1992 Constitution was promulgated mindful of the defects or challenges that we experience with the two main systems. And that is the reason why we are practicing the hybrid system.
Okay.
The hybridity of the system of government we practice comes also with some little defects or some challenges. So whatever is happening in Parliament, and let me state this, and I state it with all the seriousness it deserves, it inures to the growth of our democratic processes.
Okay.
I've heard people who have said that members of Parliament will be fighting in the chamber. It is not unique to Ghana. Even Congress, the U.S. Congress and the Senate, they have exchanged blows before. The British Parliament, they have actually exchanged blows. We haven't even done an iota of what happened in the U.S. Congress and the Senate and the British Parliament. In fact, the largest democracy is that of the Indian Parliament. And the Indian Parliament, they have experienced that. So when I hear people who say that members of Parliament as if, no, those are not unique. And I'm not saying that it's something we could not have avoided. But the fact that it happened doesn't degrade, if you like, our Parliament to the extent of which you hear people, and particularly some section of the Ghanaian media who are so lazy, who don't even read around what happens in other parliaments across the country. And they try to print the picture as if, oh, our parliament has stooped so low. Look, where it comes to the defense of right against wrong, people will do everything possible to do so.
Okay.
On the matter of the ruling of the Speaker, I think that it is important for us to understand that long before the Speaker gave his ruling and the matter of the 4 members of Parliament filing and contesting as independent members of parliament. Honorable Afenyo Markins had already gone to the Supreme Court. So it's like I'm arguing with you, and I suspect that you give me a slap. Then I rush to the court and says that someone intend to give me a slap, and therefore I'm suing that person for an assault. It simply doesn't make sense. My question is that on what basis did the Supreme Court even give him the hearing when the Speaker hadn't even given his ruling on the matter of the 4 colleagues of ours who have filed and contesting as independent members of parliament? And I think that is one question we need to be asking the Supreme Court. And again, another thing that ought to be looked at has to do even with he going back to court, asking the court to grant him stay of execution on the matter of the ruling of the Right Honourable Speaker. He is a reporter. Your producer is a reporter from Parliament. Any official document rightly to be used as an official document from Parliament, particularly proceedings in the chamber, ought to be approved by members of Parliament in the subsequent sitting. So when we sit today, and then we have another sitting tomorrow, we would approve the minutes, and let me describe this minute, called Proceedings of Parliament, the next day. Until such an approval is done, nobody can use it as an official happenings or officially what happened in Parliament. Do you know that we had to approve the vote and proceedings of last Thursday just yesterday? We approved what happened last Thursday just yesterday. And that is why the first thing you do when you get to the chamber, after the prayer and everything, the Speaker, the first thing he does is to look at the vote and proceedings. And he goes page 1, page 2. So when there are corrections, those corrections will be effected. And the Speaker then would pronounce that in the absence of any other correction, as far as the votes and proceedings of the previous sittings is concerned, I have declared that to be an official document of Parliament. Honorable Afenyo Markins went to the Superior Court of the land with the evidence he got from the vote and proceedings of Thursday, last week Thursday, which was not approved. So either he scammed the Supreme Court or they failed to do due diligence. So ab initio, it was a complete illegality. Absolutely.
But the evidence you're talking about, we understand, was a draft.
Whether draft or not draft, Parliament is not just any organization. And in fact, when we're approving the vote and proceedings of last Thursday, yesterday, there were major amendments done in the votes and proceedings. You have corrections, grammatical errors, major amendments, about 2 or 3 amendments were effected in the votes and proceedings. Now, for a member of Parliament and a leader of the minority to go to court, you should go to court with an official document of Parliament until the vote and proceedings are looked at, if there are possible corrections and amendments, and then adopted, approved and adopted. It cannot be deemed to be an official happenings in Parliament. And that was what Afenyo Markins took to court.
So you still stand by the fact that the Supreme Court's ruled on
it's not about still stand. That is a fact. It's illegal. What Afenyo Markins did. Either he deceived the Supreme Court, or he lied to them, or they knew and turned a blind eye. And I don't want to believe that the Supreme Court will deliberately turn a blind eye to that. So he scammed the Supreme Court. Because you have no right to do what he did. Assuming that we never had any changes and amendments done in the votes and proceedings of last Thursday, yesterday, one could even argue, even that argument would be a lame argument. However, we had a lot of changes effected in the votes and proceedings of last week. But let me come to one very important issue. You see, I said this today, and one of the incompetent MPP communicators, I don't know, I listened to one who was even lying that the NDC has a document. They just don't want to even read around.
Well, have you seen that document?
There is nothing like that. There is absolutely nothing like that. You see, it's an attempt because of this Japa document, which they have been exposed.
You think they're just bringing that to combat?
Oh, why? Your journalists requested for and he refused to give them. When a Japan document was out, people have access to it. What kind of document is it? You claim that the NDC had a document to rig the 2024 elections. You are unwilling to share that document. I mean, for me, the clownish is just too much. I thought it was only Dr. Bawumia who is demonstrating clownishly in terms of his political rhetorics. Unfortunately, it has gotten to the entirety of the MPP. But you see, when the chief comes home with weird haircut, what do you expect his subjects to do? They come with tupejo. You know tupejo?
No, what's tupejo?
Those old barber, you see it that way. So the lies, the deception is not only limited with their flag bearer. You see, we are practicing democracy. Those MPP guys, I urge them to go and read around the theories propounded by the likes of Professor Montesquieu, John Locke, and co. on the matter of separation of powers, checks, and balances. Now, the reason why they ought to read around those things, they are the hallmark, if you like, the guiding principles of our democratic governance. And the theory simply says that power should not be tilted at the advantage of one of the arms against the other, or two of the arms against the other.
Okay.
The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.
Okay.
And therefore, power should be equally shared, such that one arm cannot arbitrarily use that power at the discomfort or disadvantage of the others.
Okay.
That must be established.
Okay.
Even in democracy, the most important arm in democracy is not even the judiciary. It is the legislative arm.
On what basis? Because you make the laws?
No, I'll tell you why. You see, you can have a government without parliament. A military dictatorship is still a government. In a military government, you have the executive operating, a military leader and his secretaries and his appointees. In a military dictatorship, you still have the courts operating. But in military dictatorship, you can't have parliament. And that is why, when you have a truncation of democratic governance, the first institution the military junta will attack and dissolve is parliament. So you can have a government without parliament, but you can't have democracy without parliament.
Okay.
That must be established. Let no one be deceived into thinking that the judiciary, in this case the Supreme Court, has more powers than parliament. Let no one be deceived into thinking that. The judiciary doesn't have more powers than the legislature, neither the legislature having more powers than the judiciary. The Supreme Court is given an exclusive jurisdiction to interpret laws. So Parliament can go and discharge their responsibilities, perform their functions, and anyone who feels uncomfortable with it can go to the Supreme Court for interpretation. So the Supreme Court will then interpret that action to determine whether it is in sync with the Constitution or law or not. That is what the Supreme Court can do. The Supreme Court cannot be seeking to direct Parliament as to how we perform our functions. They don't have that authority. Now, what happened in this matter? It was not about interpretation of law. It was virtually directing Parliament as to what they want us to do. They can direct Parliament as to how Parliament should function. Now, if Afenyo Markins had gone to the Supreme Court seeking the interpretation of the law as to whether the action of Honorable Bagbin is legal or not, nobody would have had any qualms at all about it. But it was not about interpretation, virtually directing Parliament as to what you should do. I have listened to very distinguished legal brains in this country who have argued. In fact, Justice Atuguba, the former Chief Justice, Chief Justice argued that they should have even gone to the High Court. Some have also argued that the purpose for stay of execution, when the matter has not been, this action has been done. But the question I ask, and I am begging for response, that Afenyo Markins went to court with evidence that was not official. Because Parliament had not adopted that as the true reflections of what happened on Thursday. He went to court with that. Yet the Supreme Court, upon that unofficial position of Parliament, acted upon it. Is it a case that the Supreme Court was deceived by Fenyo Markins,
Okay.
or they failed to do due diligence.
Okay, so this draft, you say that was not official. We understand that the person that leaked, the officer that leaked that draft has been identified and queried. What punitive
The issue
measures?
of the leaking is another, but I'm just saying.
I understand,
Look,
but I just want to know. I mean,
yeah, I
what
agree.
punitive
My
measures do you
point is
think
that,
should be meted out to the
well,
guy?
that is left with the Parliamentary Service Board and Mr. Speaker.
You don't have
and
a say on
and
that.
the leadership, yes. But my point is, Fenyo Markins went to Parliament with evidence that was not official. And the Supreme Court is well aware that for any evidence to be used from Parliament, it must be an official position of Parliament.
Okay.
We approved happenings on last week, Thursday, just
yesterday.
yesterday.
Okay.
And that is my worry.
Okay. Let's talk about the recall of parliaments, because even though you have described it as a democratic process, the NPP is insisting that they are pushing for this move because there's urgent government businesses to be conducted, and they say that the request for tax exemptions for designated beneficiaries under 1D1F program to the Ghana Financial Stability Fund and International Development Association facility of $250 million US state dollars, Environmental Protection Agency, among a number of bills. Will you
First and
partake in that
foremost,
recall?
the 1D1F is the most fraudulent, thievery, outright robbery that this government is seeking to perpetrate on the people of this country. And I ask you, my sister, we are going for a loan of $100 million, begging for a loan. Yet we are giving tax exemption to foreign companies at a total amount of $350 million. Does it make sense to you? $350 million. These are import duties that these foreign companies are supposed to pay to the state. And we're saying, don't pay. We'll give it to you. Meanwhile, we are going to beg for a $100 million loan. Does it even make sense? Our position has been consistent. Look, I have had the privileged opportunity to have managed the Ministry of Trade as a deputy minister before. And I have said that these people, they don't even read. Go and read the 1D1F policy document. The document is very clear that for you to enjoy the tax exemptions, you must show proof of the number of jobs you'll be creating. These companies haven't shown that. They are friends to Nanado and the family.
Under the 1D1F?
Yes. They haven't shown any evidence. These are the jobs we are going to create. Because their family and friends, the looting brigade, they want to rob this country once again. And I ask a simple question. You are going in for a loan of $100 million as a state. Yet we are giving tax exemption to foreign companies up to the tune of $350 million. Does it make sense? I mean, let's put aside politics. Does it even make sense? We want loan, $100 million, begging. But don't worry, some people are going to pay as import duties and others. We want to give them $350 million. If not that they have an interest in it, you think they'll do that? I mean, look at the painting of selected interchanges. Nanado's daughter, $25 million. My sister, does it make sense to you? That's that silly artwork that you see on the interchanges. How many interchanges do you have? $25 million given to Nanado's daughter. I mean, does it even make sense? Sometimes people, we are numbed now. The anger has come. We are beyond anger. $25 million. That is what they have given to the daughter to paint the interchanges. Even if Maya Angelou was the one who was doing those artwork, they won't even charge that. A cathedral. Do you know they are owing even the contractor about $50 million for leaving his items there, the biggest pit hole. So I'm saying that, look, again, if you come to the environmental protection, you know the argument is that because of Galamsey, you don't need laws to stop Galamsey. You need political will. It's the MPP people who are engaged in the Galamsey. And don't take my words. The former Minister for Local Government, Ajia Alima, when she had interaction with MMDCs, your TV station carried it, I think, about 4 years, or is it almost 5 years ago? And she said, and I quote, "We know those of you who are engaged in Galamsey and will come after you." And she was talking to MMDCs appointed by President Nanado. Where are they? So you don't need laws. When I hear people say, the NDC, you are talking about Galamsey, we want to pass laws. We have enough laws to stop Galamsey. What we are lacking is political will, because Nanado is the biggest beneficiary as far as the Galamsey is concerned. There are people at the Flagstaff House who are engaged in Galamsey.
Okay. Now, still on Galamsey, we understand that there has been a private members bill proposed by 3 of your MPs.
Yes.
How confident are you that it will materialize within a space of 6 weeks?
Well, for it to materialize is one thing, but my position is still very
don't
clear.
you think that is the reason you should probably partake in the recall?
No, I think that we don't, look, my first statement there, we don't need even those laws to stop Galamsey.
So in essence, you will not partake in that recall?
I'm saying that it's just a political will. We have enough laws to stop Galamsey.
On a general scale, will the NDC partake in that recall?
Which recall? Which recall?
Recall proposed by the NDC
Look,
MPs.
we are law-abiding citizens. As far as we are concerned, the NDC is majority in parliament, and no one can change that.
Per the Speaker's interpretation of
Not
article.
even per the Speaker's interpretation. You see, you are dealing with a group of people who don't have principles. They don't even respect their own constitution. Article 9 of the MPP constitution is very clear. Article 9 of the MPP's constitution says that should any member decide to contest as an independent member of parliament, that member automatically forfeits. They say automatically forfeits his what? His membership.
Okay.
Now, if you take Article 97.1.1g of the 1992 Constitution, also says that if you go to Parliament as a member of Parliament on the ticket of any political party, and you choose to contest as an independent member, or you defect from that party to another party, you lose your status as a member of Parliament. Your seat becomes vacant. And I'm saying that the MPP's own constitution, Article 9 of the MPP's own constitution says that should you contest as an independent member of Parliament, you automatically forfeit your status as a member of the party. So it is not
you have just
we.
finalized your argument that the NDC is the majority in Parliament.
It's not me. They are facts.
Granted.
Now, granted that the stay of execution of the Supreme Court, granted that it is supposed or it is going to be abided by Mr. Speaker and all of us, same ought to be communicated to the people of this country in Parliament by the Speaker. Until such is done, the ruling of the Speaker is what should be supreme.
Okay. But I just want a yes or no answer. Will you partake in the recall? Yes
Of course.
No? You will.
Why? We are members of Parliament.
Okay.
If they follow the necessary processes to invite us and the Speaker invites us, we will. And you see, the standing orders are very clear. The standing orders, and I guess even the Constitution says that if an emergency meeting, as they want us to come back to Parliament, the Speaker would have to be notified, at least within a period of 1 week after they get the necessary signatories. And then the Speaker would then also inform members of Parliament. What they are now saying is that usually it takes like 2 weeks. What they are now saying is that the Speaker notification and everything should be done in 2 weeks. Absolute nonsense. Absolute balderdash. Look, the Speaker, it is the discretion of the Speaker to determine how quickly he calls us. So within 1 week, the Speaker would have to give us time, because some of us are moving to our constituencies. But for this interaction, I was supposed to be in my constituency.
Okay.
So why do you think...
I mean, we appreciate your time.
And so I'm saying that, but for this, I was supposed to be in my constituency. A lot of our colleagues have actually gone to their constituencies. So they are now saying that the Speaker must do everything within 1 week. Like, seriously?
You think it's absurd?
I don't want to use certain strong words.
But, I mean, if Parliament is recalled, where will the NDC MP sit?
We are sitting on the majority.
On the right-hand side of the Speaker?
And nothing except God can prevent us from sitting there.
Okay.
We will sit there in the end. I heard them say that, because they are law-abiding. I heard their incompetent communication director. What's the gentleman's name? The one who lied.
Is it Richard Enyagba?
That very incompetent. He said that the NDC, because they are law-abiding, the NDC is violence. You see, a lot of them, they don't read. They should go and read. I have a book I can make available to any of their communicators.
That's okay. I actually want us to talk about your constituency now.
You played his voice, and then you asked me a question on that. So I need to speak on that. Just briefly. Go and read End of the Illusion. When the UP, and you see, by the way, I tell the MPP people, my grandfather, my direct grandfather, was one of the founding fathers of the UP tradition.
Okay.
The Akubitali. But the more I read about the political history of this country, the more I distance myself from that tradition. My direct grandfather. I'm saying that they should read The End of the Illusion. When the UP was formed, Asante war drums were played. We are still aware of the Matimuhu, a woman in Kumasi. They used pestle, the one they used to pound fufu, and pounded on the private part of the woman because she was a CPP member. The Kulungugu bomb throwing. And as a matter of fact, when Nkrumah incarcerated a lot of them, and they criminally overthrew Nkrumah, the Buza set up a commission, and the commission indeed came to the same conclusion. When they even said Nkrumah killed JB Dankwa, he never did. He died a natural death. Now, in this parliament, forget of even their atrocities in the past, in this parliament, they commandeered military officers into chamber. That was an affront to our democracy. The military have no business in parliament. Yet these people will come and tell us that they are law-abiding. But because they don't want violence, they don't want anarchy, that was the reason why they decided not to engage. Because my good friend Afenyo Makin has been abandoned by his own party people.
Okay,
and I'll tell you the reason. The reason why they didn't sit on the part of the majority, because they didn't have the numbers. They came, they were few. They would have done that. So when we come back, should this recall be honored by the Speaker? The Speaker has no option than to do that. But as to the timing, they can demand that the Speaker should do that within 1 week.
Okay.
The Speaker is having a maximum period of 1 week.
You will sit on the right-hand side of the Speaker. I think that has been established in this engagement.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the Tamale Central constituency. We understand that...
Because I thought that was the reason why we came here, but you are asking me questions about it. Well, I came here, I was not coming here to talk about this.
We are interested in your constituency, but national issues as well, because
no, I agree.
It's
That's
region. We understand that Baumia was there for a health walk, and the crowd he pulled was massive. Did you see it?
They brought 20 buses alone from Yendi. Yendi alone, 20.
To Tamale Central?
Yes, to Tamale Central. They brought hundreds of buses.
How do you know that?
Oh, I saw them. They were packed.
You saw them from Yendi?
Oh, the Yendi alone. When they were leaving, our people told us in Yendi, this is the number of buses. And I can show you pictures. When you come to the Jubilee Park, they could not even have spaces. So they moved from Jubilee Park. They couldn't end the march there because the buses had taken over the entire spaces. They brought people from Northeast. They brought people from Savannah. They brought people everywhere. Everywhere. But you see, on the 7th day of December, they will see their smoothness level. But in any case, look, the MPP got almost 20,000 or even more than 20,000 in the last elections. Now, if they want to even gather such people, they will have the numbers they claim they had. So, I mean, clearly, Baumia, I mean, frankly speaking, he's a joke of a vice president.
So you were not threatened when you saw the numbers?
Not even the list. I'm saying that because those of you who were here, and ask your reporter, you have sister stations in Tamale, ask them to sincerely, they will tell you that buses everywhere. Yendi alone, 20
so the people
buses.
were bus from Yendi?
I say Yendi alone, 20. Yendi, hold on, northern region, Yendi alone, 20 buses. Karaga, Twalang, Kumbungu, everywhere. It was a regional rally. That's what they did. So whereas some of you were, they have the numbers. I sit there and I was enjoying a proper cocoa and kose because I knew that what they did had no impact. And what they did, they showed that they just used drones. Even with the buses, the people they bussed there, they were using drones.
Okay.
And they used drones to magnify the numbers.
Okay.
Let them keep on tickling themselves and laughing.
Okay.
7th December, they see their
I see, but
level.
out of the 31 constituencies there, the NPP has captured about 16. I mean, when I talk about there, I mean Northeast, Savannah, and the Northern region.
You see, one of the reasons why the MP, particularly in Northern region, and I want to speak on about Northern region now, they have 9, we have 9, total of 18 seats.
Yes.
The reason why the MPP won, they used to win like 1 seat in Northern region or maximum 2.
Did you think it was the Baumia factor?
No, it had nothing to do with Baumia, and I'll tell you the reason. The reason why the MPP indeed have made some strides, if you like, in Northern region, had nothing to do with MPP's work or MPP as a viable, political party. It has to do with, unfortunately, our inability over the years to mend fences after our parliamentary primaries.
Okay.
Because if it was to be about Dr. Baumia, he would have been winning the presidential elections too. So whereas President Mahama will win presidential elections in those constituencies, MPP wins the seat. So clearly, I mean, I'm a research student. It tells you it has nothing to do with the persona, Dr. Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia contested with President Mahama. Let's look at the total number of constituencies President Mahama won. So in some of the constituencies he won, but the NDC lost the parliamentary, the parliamentary elections. It has to do with our inability over the years to mend fences, to find solutions to our post-parliamentary primaries conflicts. But I can tell you that the NDC is more united now than ever in the region.
Okay.
And that is why we are very convinced that we will win a minimum of 14 seats out of the 18
Out
seats.
of the, I
yes,
see.
a minimum. We are very convinced about that.
That is for Tamale.
Northern region.
Northern region.
Yes. We are very convinced about that. Because you see, we have analyzed over the years, and in most of the constituencies we've lost to the MPP, it is often serious crisis after parliamentary primaries. And sometimes the timely nature of our parliamentary primaries, sometimes you organize it closer to the elections. By the time you resolve, the differences, you are getting into the elections. So if you observe, this year we had our parliamentary primaries very early, earlier than the MPP did. And thank God that we didn't have much problems. Places that we had problems, we've been able to resolve those problems. Because it doesn't make sense why NDC will be winning presidential, yet we are losing a parliamentary. So those who argue it has to do with Dr. Bawumia's factor, they are just deceiving themselves. Okay. Samira Bawumia, you know what they now do, and I'll tell you. I mean, it's so they do it shamelessly. They go to the Muslim communities, they go to the youth groups, preaching religious differences. That's what they do.
Really?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And because they know, they can't say it publicly. They go tell them that vote for Dr. Bawumia because
he's a Muslim.
But they have even done it publicly. Sheikh Nuama, you saw the video. Sheikh Nuama in Kumasi said they should vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Muslim. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This country is a secular state. I don't care who is the president of the Republic of Ghana. What I care is the person who treats everybody equally, despite your religious differences. And it is very clear. Between Dr. Bawumia, the NDC, and MPP, who has served the interests of Muslims? It's the NDC. It's the NDC. Look, the sacred pledge of every Muslim, one of the pillars of Islam, is to go to Hajj, if you have the means. And that is why it is said that once you are able to meet all the 4 pillars, and then you go to Hajj, you have completed your obligation as a Muslim. Do you know under the NDC, we're paying maximum 12,000 Ghana cedis to go to Hajj. Okay. Today, this year, do you know how much you pay? 75,000 Ghana cedis. 75. Look, in Tamale, we're all witnesses to what happened at Elwak when people came there for Hajj. Some even lost their lives. President Mahama built the Tamale International Airport. You know, they named the airport after my grandfather. Yet, we still have problems with it. Now, President Mahama built it. You know the argument they are now making? Oh, yes, President Mahama built the phase 1, we built the phase 2. And the guys are so ignorant that they don't know that an international airport is not the structure. It's the runway. It's the runway, not the structure. Because even with the runway, when the structure was not built, international airlines were landing there. Now, if you build a structure, the tarmac, and then you don't build a runway, it cannot be called an international airport.
Okay.
Now, people fly from Tamale to Mecca. On the same day, you get your tuunzafi, you can go to Mecca and eat it, and it will still be hot. Okay. So I'm saying that majority of the people there are Muslims. So you don't go preaching religious differences. Vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Muslim. They do that. And I'm saying that it is not a secret. Initially, they were doing it secretly, and I've been speaking about it. Sheikh Nuama, a very respectful Islamic scholar, stood in Kumasi and said they should vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Muslim. Okay. I didn't hear any condemnation from you, the media, from the religious organizations. I didn't hear. That is the level of hypocrisy. If the NDC had done, no, it is not okay.
I want to talk about your constituency.
If the NDC had done that, I am telling you, they would have been talking about that.
Okay. Tell me about your signature project in Tamale Central.
Me, everywhere I go, I actually do a lot of work. First and foremost, when I hold, among the second degrees I have a second degree in planning.
Okay.
So I knew the problems in Tamale, and every planning student, if you ask them, they tell you that you don't just go into execute. There's something called problem tree. You develop objective tree out of it. You identify the problems, and then you find out the possible solutions out of it. when I was contesting for Tamale Central, that was not the first time. I contested for Tamale Central primaries in 2006 in the by-elections when Professor Waiseni defected to NPP. I contested again in 2008, and I was the youngest among them. Then I went to Nantong because the NDC had lost the Nantong. That's where my father is coming from. I went and contested the Nantong seat, then lost it in 2016 before I came to Tamale Central. So I knew all the problems in Tamale Central before I went there to contest. Now, major things that I intended to do, which I had already planned for: one, education, water, healthcare, and also youth empowerment.
What is the status of that?
I'll tell you. I'm a teacher by profession, and I've had the opportunity to have taught at all levels of education, from basic school, secondary school, even to the university. I've taught in all. So I have an appreciation of the challenges of education, not only in Tamale Center, but I believe that in many parts of the country. But I didn't pretend to know it all.
Okay.
I had interactions with the Metro Education Director, and I wanted to find out the challenges of education in the Tamale Central constituency. In Tamale, we have two constituencies in Tamale Metro, Tamale Central and Tamale South. And then Saanargo Municipality, you have Tamale North and Saanargo constituency in Tamale Saanargo Municipality. When I engaged the Metro Education Director, he told me there were a lot of challenges as far as education is concerned. But what was serious among them was the BEC results.
So have you been able to improve on that?
That's where I'm coming. Do I have time to explain this?
Not really.
How many minutes do I have? Because you just asked me that because that's what I thought you were coming to ask me, but you were instead asking me about NDC things. So if you could give me some time, it's important. Because that's the purpose for
Tell us about
I'm
it.
here. When I interacted him, when they gave me the data, average pass mark for the BC in Tamale Metro was 32.2%.
On the average?
Average, 32.2%. So I wanted to find out what was the cause. That's what we research students do. And he said that, you know, the syllabuses they are supposed to cover for the 3 years, most of the schools they are not able to cover them. So when a student goes to write an exams and they ask questions on things that he was supposed to have treated and he didn't, naturally he can pass. So I then asked him, what can we do to ameliorate the challenge? He said, look, if we can organize extra classes. So I had extra classes in 5 centers, provided the teachers, and I paid the teachers from my pocket. And I said I was going to do something no MP has ever done, because I wasn't the first person who was going to organize extra classes. But I've seen that many MPs who organize extra classes, some will go beyond the extra classes and provide the students with mathematical sets when they are going to write.
Okay.
I didn't do that. I organized the extra classes for 6 months, provided them with mathematical set, and I gave every single student TNT for the 4 days they were going to engage in the exams. When we did that and they wrote first, and we had a total number of 1,225 students. When the results came, and I went again there for him to show me the data as to whether there was an improvement. When he brought it out and we did the analysis, the average pass mark, which was 32.2%, jumped to 50.9%. The second year when we did, it jumped from 50.9% to 62%. The third year,
so that means your interventions were yielding results.
So there's a direct correlation between the classes and performance.
Yeah.
And I don't discriminate which political party you belong. That's one. In the area of health, I had interaction with the Metro Health Director, and he said we needed a lot of health centers in Tamale. So I went to Qatar Charity. It's an Islamic NGO. Qatar Charity provided us with a clinic, and I furnished the clinic. I did that from my pocket and not from common fund.
Okay.
I also went to get Qatar Charity. They provided another clinic, a clinic with 4 apartments of teachers. The third one, I built it from scratch. So within four years, I provided 3 clinics for the people of Tamale Central. I also had a scholarship scheme for medical science students, and I'm yet to know whether anybody has done that in Ghana. Every year, I pay 100% fees of 10 medical science students in Tamale Central. And I intend to pay the fees till they finish the 7-year course. I started 3 years ago. I have the first batch in their 3rd year. They'll be going to their 4th year. I have some in the 2nd year and the 3rd year. Every year, 10 students. So first year, I had 10 students. 2nd year, I added another 10 students. Last year, I added 12 students. So I have 32 medical science students in Tamale Center, and I pay their fees in full.
Okay.
And I don't pay it from common fund. This year, we have had so far 13 students. And I have used the opportunity anywhere I get anybody who wants to assist now, because it is taking a toll on my finances. It is becoming a challenge for me. So I say anybody who wants to help, don't give me the money. I give you the name of the student's his ID number. You pay the monies in the bank and give the receipt. That's what I do. And I'll show you evidences. I have all of them on WhatsApp group, third year, second year, and then the first year.
Okay.
So I have 32 medical science students whose fees are paid 100%. So the third year are going to their fourth year. In fact, they just sent me their fees items. I'll show it to you. So every year, so this year we're going to have another 13 students, making it 45 medical science students. Next year, if you get 10, it will be 55 medical science. And what I do medicine, I do pharmacy. Okay. That's what I do. In fact, the interesting aspects of it is that there is even a herbal medicine students among them at KNUST. That's what I've done in the area of that. I have been able to lobby to get an AstroTurf for Tamale Central. The Tamale Central roads, shockingly, 2024, there are still roads in Tamale Central that are not paved. We've done with that phase 1 of Changli, one area, phase 1 of Dohanayil, currently they are at Gumbeni, and it is about 10-point-something kilometers roads. So these are some of the things. I've also lobbied to get immigration and other, apart from the medical science students. I also support the fees of other people who are in the universities. So basically, these are I've constructed some schools. I've also helped in providing furnitures and others in some schools. But major things I have done: 1, the scholarship for medical science students; 2, the free extra classes, which indeed has improved performance in the place. Provided 3 health centers. 1, I provided it entirely. In fact, when the Ghana Health Service people came, they said it is not a clinic, it is a polyclinic, because it is so big. And the one Qatar Charity has provided, they provided it with 4 apartments for health workers who will be there in the period of 3 years. And the most important thing, I visit my constituency every other week.
Every other week.
Every other week.
We are wrapping up, but tell us your final words. Tell your constituents why they should maintain you ahead of Sule Salifu. You can speak your local dialects to them. They're listening.
Well, what Sule Salifu has done is, you can find it. Tamale Metro is one of the. In fact, we had the
wrapping up.
One of the metropolitan assemblies that generate a lot of money. When I had this engagement with him on a sister, TV station, and this their community manifesto, when the question was put as to what he has done, he said he constructed street lights. Tamale Metro has a lot of money, and I don't know what basically they have actually done. And on that day, I indicated to him, my common fund, he approves it. I have never been to the assembly to ask of my common fund, because I'd actually mortgaged the common fund for the provisions of necessary things. The last point I don't want to forget, within the period of 4 years, I have provided 82 mechanized boreholes in Tamale. 82. 62 are provided using my common fund, and the 20 are got Islamic NGOs to provide those boreholes. 82. So, and you see, I did that because, but for the boreholes, there would have been serious crisis in Tamale as far as water supply is concerned. So,
but tell them, I mean, after all of these policies, tell them why they should vote for you.
First and foremost, I am down to earth, and everybody knows in Tamale I ride motos. I am with the people. I have done that which the people need. I don't discriminate between NDC and MPP in terms of the things I have provided in the classes, the water, the medical science students. Out of, when they were 20, we had 7 kids who were typically from MPP, so I don't discriminate. That's one thing. Now, you are choosing an MP to work. I have done roads, I have provided an AstroTurf. The reason why we provided those things, because the people desperately need them. Now, what will be the benefit in they wanting to change? When you have, interestingly, the mayor of Tamale, who had resources at his disposal than me, yet he can't point to anything. The only thing he said he did, he constructed street lights, and I don't know whether we construct street lights.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been engaging Comrade Mutala Mohammed.
I thought you said I should speak Dagbani.
I gave you the chance to do that. You didn't do it.
No,
so
but
we are done.
I didn't finish with the English. You are bullying
but
me.
You
are bullying me on your program. So let me speak Dagbani just a minute.
In 5 seconds.
To nuko yel sham nyame. Dagbang za Tamale Center za binyane tumtum shanga. Antuma de douala plona de kadare. Minutum tum shanga ma mbe gang. Nang koma nan bohol ma de nyala pehni na yi. nim ya shifti shanga karnya shiftin ma debata debayi man me za'in ka fenishile za'in ma me shabi me kan fenishi kanya katar charity kap kana tlami ne bo doctor be banchen university bo hande doctor be man yorbe fees be nya be peta na yi yunungo be pia na taka di zampa kam non be pe na pa ko mon fan kam mal yorle yorlandal jif pune ne la male la extra class chantin nan ma be ma bira sabe ko go pubzo va be peta konda pasra tempil le zongo ko go pubzo bam pasra ba ba be pitso point nchende chenji men nan lam be gang ten nan lam synthèse men nan la ban chason na jenna man wor classes man terba ma sed man nan terba lare ben yamal shel pier lora nchende sabra ka kunna del lam pa mal pala a chang le zongo chang le pala ko to lam bangle do na ye pala ko bangle be gombe ne ti yini ti an pala la makara un pa word f un pa ti show ka pa polo f ka pa agric mo hebe fondement aza pal kam den to neti bien tenan asruta be ni mer bola lo chapolo den garde zafa nti aso kam min ben na ariyan sa chal kam biela yanga an gbobla tamal santana adalci zon tal kan no tun so kam lam pima man mun zanama la kam bizanto no miela street light no abin be miela street light.
Thank you, Mabia.
Dagban is a beautiful language. I think I need to start teaching you Dagban.
I agree. And that is how we end the campaign.
I've given you a good laugh today.
And that wraps up Starr today here on Starr FM. For more news updates, log on to starfm.com.gh. I am Tutuwaa Danso. Thank you very much for your time. We are back tomorrow at 5 p.m. with more news content. Have a good evening.